Namaste, I am back. For one more hour, you will have to endure me. But I promise you again, this is going to be a very interesting conversation, because the speaker is one of the most erudite and one of the wittiest people I have come across. I have heard him lots of times. I'm a big fan. And in an age where we complain that our young people don't read, I remember I was at the airport once and I sent him the picture also, and there was a group of young people waiting for their flights. There were about 20 of them, and 19 of them were looking into their screens. There was only one girl who was reading a book, and guess who was the author of that book? No prizes for guessing. It was Ashwin Sanghi. And I sent him that picture also, because it's really remarkable that the one person who was reading that book was reading your book. And I think you deserve a huge round of applause for that.
Thank you.
So I am calling this session the Sanghi Sutra. See, you can't help it. आपके तो नाम में ही संगी है. He wears many hats. He is an entrepreneur, he is a businessman, he is a thriller writer, he is a best-selling writer. He is also a writer of self-help books. I don't know how many of you know about that. Have you read any of those books? 13 Steps to Good Health, 13 Steps to Parenting, 13 Steps to Good Luck. There are 13 steps, right?
Yeah.
But most people know him as a writer of thrillers. I also primarily know him as a writer of thrillers. This is an honest confession. This 13 thing I only realized when I was researching on him, and I realized that he's written these books. But I would like to know more about this. My first question to you.
I'm going to adjust because I can't see your face.
Yeah, please.
थोड़ा सा मैं इसको एंगल पे कर दूं ताकि we can see each other.
Yeah.
हाँ जी, perfect, lovely.
So my first question to you is, you were a businessman long before you were an author. So what made you transition and write the Rosabal line, which was your first book?
Nowadays that word transition is very dangerous, no? Not dangerous word.
Yeah,
but,
these days, yes.
But no, you know, I was born in a family where my father is Marwadi, my mother is a Bania from Kanpur. So Marwadi Bania combination deadly. And it was taken for granted. This guy is going to get into business. He's going to trade. He's going to do a job of a merchant. As we would say in Hindi, ये गद्दी पे बैठेगा. So the one uncommon factor in my life was my Nanaji, who lived in Kanpur.
Okay.
And Nanaji was, of course, he was a businessman himself. But more importantly, he was a person who was very well read. And he was fluent in multiple languages. He spoke English, Hindi, Urdu, Arabic, Persian, and Latin. And he had a vast library in Kanpur, thousands of books. And he would very lovingly send me one book every week from Kanpur to Bombay.
Okay.
And he would say, "Beta, isko padho." And the rule was that the moment I was done reading it, I had to send him a letter telling him what I had read, whether I liked it, didn't like it, why I liked it or disliked it. It was the earliest form of writing a book review.
Okay.
And of course, my father was equally determined that I must get properly trained into business.
Okay.
So it was taken for granted that by age 21, 22, you finish your MBA and start working. And which means that from a young age, during my summer holidays, etc., I was sent to my father's either factory or to the office. There was a Munimji, a Marwadi Munimji, who used to teach me the Bahi Khata, how to write both single entry as well as double entry systems. And he would tell me, he said, all these books that you read, there are so many words in them, but in your life you only need to remember 2 words, debit and credit. And if you can master those 2, then everything else is taken care of. And so I would go back to Nanaji when he would come to Bombay. I would say, Nanaji, if Munimji says that don't waste your time with books. And Nanaji kept it going all the way till the mid-90s. Till mid-90s I was receiving books from him. Even when I went for my MBA to America, his books used to come there, but once a month. 4 or 5 books would come together. And during his lifetime, he sent me a little over 300 books. But he would always say that, beta, look, at the end of the day, you are a Marwadi Banya. So, you will always, your primary worship will be Lakshmi. तुम तो लक्ष्मी जी की पूजा करोगे, because that is in your DNA. But he used to always say that there is a very curious relationship between Lakshmi and Saraswati. He would say that Lakshmi wants to be wherever Saraswati is. So if Lakshmi is in this room, if Saraswati is in this room, then Lakshmi also wants to be here. And if Saraswati gets up and goes away, then Lakshmi is curious, why has she gone? So let me find out, let me also go. So he would always say that, beta, you know, even if your objective is to go for Lakshmi, the route to Lakshmi is through Saraswati. And he would also say that in our wisdom, in our ancient wisdom, the only deity who can sit between Lakshmi and Saraswati and keep them in the same room is Ganesha. So live your life like Ganesha, which is why I look the way I do. But at a more serious level, it's actually what he was trying to tell me was that wealth and wisdom and Lakshmi and Saraswati and books and business, they all go hand in hand. And I think that was the learning. So he had hardwired my brain.
Okay.
I finished my master's sometime in the early 90s. I came back, started working, and then I forgot. Nanaji passed away, I think, in the mid-90s. And I forgot about all of the stuff that he had inculcated in me, because I went into a life of business. And then sometime around 2002, my father sent me for a day to Kashmir, to Srinagar, because a very close family friend, the daughter was getting married. And it was height of tension in Kashmir at that time. Everything was closed down. There were checkposts every 100 meters. And I reached there because father had said, I can't go. You please go for one day and come back. So I went. And unfortunately, the next day, when I was supposed to return, my flight got cancelled. And those were the good old days of IAC, Indian Airlines, where you had one flight or at the most 2 flights happening in the day. So I was stuck in that hotel. Most of the hotel was lying shuttered up. I could hear my own footsteps in the corridor, and I was getting totally mentally psyched out. So I told the driver, I said, take me to some, मुझे सैर करवाओ. He said, साहब यहाँ पर सैर? Srinagar was really a sort of under lockdown. So he said, will you go to Hazrat Bal? I said, I've been. He said, you want to go to Shankaracharya? I said, I've been. He said, Chashma Shahi, and all the touristy places I'd been. Then he finally said, Rosa Bal. I said, what is this? So he said, Rosa Bal is also famous, a lot of people go there.
Okay.
So I said, okay, let's go. And we went through all these winding gullies, and at that time it was terrifying. Let me tell you, in 2002, going through those old winding gullies of Srinagar is a little bit like sitting in a thriller movie and you're sort of like the sitting duck. Anyway, we reached this very, very ordinary sort of tomb, maybe around 15 feet by 15 feet.
Okay.
And simple whitewashed walls. Walked in, and there is a sarcophagus with the head pointing towards Mecca. So the board outside reads that this is the tomb of a Peer. His name is Nasiruddin, and he was buried there sometime around the 13th century. But what is really fascinating about Rosa Bal is that there is an earlier burial under Nasiruddin. And that dates back to the origin of the tomb. Okay. And the local land records show that there has been something standing at that point since 112 AD.
Okay.
So 2000 odd years.
Okay.
The person who lies buried there, the underneath wala, that is not with the head pointing towards Mecca. That is an east-west burial, which was the direction in which the ancient Jews used to bury their dead. The common story around that is that there was a saint who came from a very far off land. His name was Yuz Asaf. And Yuz Asaf means, translated, the leader of the healed. So the great healer. And he came and he preached love and tolerance and kindness. And then when he died, he was buried there. And then of course later on, 1300 years ago, Nasiruddin was also buried there. But what is fascinating is that outside the burial space, there is a carving. And the carving shows a pair of human feet. And on those human feet, on that carving, there are little cross marks. Those cross marks are the points where the nails for a crucifixion would have been hammered. So it is the common folklore is that Yuz Asaf was none other than Jesus Christ. And of course, there are many parts of that puzzle, including the Nicholas Notovich theory of 1887 that the lost years of Jesus Christ were spent in India and all of that. And I just got fascinated by that place. And it reached a point where I wanted to talk to anyone who knew about it. I wanted to read anything. I spent the next year and a half, 2 years reading over 40 books on various parts related back to that. And eventually my wife got fed up of me. She said, you know what? She said, you have become a pain. Because anyone opens a topic of discussion with you and you will come back to this. So she said, you have a kida inside you. And you got to get rid of that kida. So I said, what do I do? She said, write about it. So I started writing a thesis. And that thesis was going to be about 30-40 pages long, where I would take all the bits and pieces of this story and try and connect the dots. I wrote it. I gave it to my wife. I said, read it. Tell me what you think. Next morning, she said, Ashwin, congratulations. So I was very happy. Congratulations. That means it's good. So she said, no, congratulations, because I think you have discovered a cure for insomnia. Because it is so boring. In one page, I was flat out. I fell asleep. Who is going to read this? And that's the time I realized that if I need to tell something, I can't tell it the way it is meant to be told. I will need to find a different way of telling it. And that's when I ended up converting that 40-page document into the Rosabal. Sorry, Shefali ji, एक question पे अगर इतना time होगा.
No, but it's a fascinating story, and you're talking about making your books interesting. I think Ashwin is probably the only person here who has in the audience a young lady who has written a book on his books. So popular are his books, and she would like to meet you after this conversation. But it's really fascinating, the kind of books, and you've said that you like to explore India's DNA through your thrillers. I've gone through some of your past interviews. Now my question to you, and you also referred to your DNA, Abhi. So when you start thinking of new themes for your thrillers, which DNA is it that's working out? Is it your entrepreneur's risk-taking DNA, or is it your seekers wanting to know more DNA?
For me, I don't know. I take this for granted. Maybe it is my upbringing with Nanaji, who sent me some wonderful books during my growing up years. But I feel a tremendous sense of pride to be a son of this soil. Yeah, this country is a place where, and for me, Bharat is not a geography. It is not a landmass. For me, it is almost, you could say, an arc of ancient Vedic wisdom almost. I still find it fascinating that today we are talking about Afghanistan and Kandahar, but we forget that Kandahar was Gandhar and that there was a Gandhari. Or we forget that the word Iran comes to you from Aryan Vaija, which is the land of the Aryans. We forget that way back in 1300 BC, you had two warring tribes, the Hittites and the Mitanni, and which is now today's modern day Turkey and Syria, and they were signing a peace agreement, and they were invoking Varun and Mitra and Indra. We've forgotten that we had someone called Bodhidharma who was part of the Pallava kingdom who went to China and took martial arts there. We've forgotten that the largest Vishnu temple in the world is not in India but in Cambodia, Angkor. Or the fact that in Malaysia you still have the Ramayana being performed under the name Hikayat Seri Rama. Or that the kings of the Thailand dynasties are still the Chakri kings. They are Rama.
Yeah.
So if you really look at the expanse, the sheer expanse of this thought, it was amazing. And to my mind, we have to find a way to be able to distill that, and that rus, that extract, we have to find a way for the next generation to be able to be damn proud that I'm here, that I've survived, I'm here to tell a story. You did your worst for thousands of years and I'm still here.
But you're still there, yes, absolutely.
So I think somewhere that is where I'm coming from in these stories, that it's not only about thrill, it cannot be only about thrill. It has to have a wider purpose. And so my approach really is that all my stories, I work on what I call the 3 E's. And it works in a 70-20-10.
Okay.
So that 70% has to be entertaining. Okay. Because if I cannot entertain you, you will put down the book after 20 pages. So then the rest of my objective is not met. So I have to entertain you. So even when I'm talking with my editor, the question is not, how was this word sounding, or how is the grammar or the syntax? No, it is, did you turn the page or did the page turn itself? Because if the page turned itself, that means I'm entertaining you.
Okay.
The second part of it is that maybe when you read the book, you come across things which you didn't realize earlier. So, for example, there could be something, let's say, related to the Mahabharata, which in normal course you may not have understood or known, but it comes across in the format of a thriller. So you end up becoming a little more knowledgeable by the time that you are done reading the book. So that I consider to be educate, which is 20%. And that final, by the time you reach that last chapter, you should have a bhakti on moment. That bhakti on moment should be, arey, yaar, why didn't I think of it this way? And that is the moment of enlightenment. It's that aha moment. So 70, 20, 10, entertain, educate, enlighten, and that's all I do.
That's fascinating. Another thing I noticed about all your thrillers is that they are not linear narratives. They don't just take one subject and stick through it.
When Rosabal line was written, the first person who read Rosabal line asked me, Ashwin, what were you smoking when you wrote that book? It is so difficult to figure out what the timeline is. So when people tell me, sir, I am a fan of yours, I love that person because they have put up with me. They have put up with my nonsense.
So you wrote about quantum physics in a book.
Yeah,
and you are not even an engineer. So
no,
how do you make sure that the research that you do is authentic?
It's not. See, at the end of the day, I'm a storyteller, Shefali ji.
Okay.
So for me, it is all about being able to make you a little wiser than where you were.
Okay.
I do my best to try and cover all the bases. So for example, go back to Keepers of the Kal Chakra.
Yeah.
Keepers of the Kal Chakra happened to me one night. I was I got up at about 4 o'clock and I was drenched in sweat because I'd been having a nightmare. And I was feeling like it was so real, so real, so real. So the next morning I asked my wife, I said, you know what, I'm just realizing one thing, that what if when I'm sitting here and talking with you and the life I'm leading now, this is the dream, and my real life is when I go into the bedroom and I lie down on my bed. And is there a way that that could be connected to quantum theory? I started looking into that. I ended up reading some books. One of the books that really influenced me was Fritjof Capra, The Tao of Physics. And then I said, no, there's much more than what meets the eye. But I realized that without quantum theory, I couldn't write it. So I had a friend of mine who's an IIT product. And I said, look, I'm not a scientist. I need to be able to figure out what is the overlap zone between quantum theory and spirituality, right? And I need to be able to put that into a story. So to do that, I need to understand quantum theory. So he said, okay, fine. You give me whiskey every Saturday night for the next 4 months.
Okay.
So for 3 or 4 months, he would come 3-4 times in the month.
Okay.
And of course, the absorption used to be better as the night wore on. But it gave me a very good grounding to be able to tell the rest of that story. See, I don't claim that I am some scholar or theologian or historian, and please, I keep telling people that please understand that as fiction writers, when I wrote Rosabal, someone asked me, what gives you what is your qualification to write a book on theology, and that too about the life of Jesus Christ in India. And I said, you know what, through the years when I was growing up, my mother always used to say that you are a bloody good liar. You tell a lie with a straight face. And as fiction writers, we are liars, right? We are telling a lie. We know that we are telling a lie. But the flip side of telling a lie, is that if you're going to tell a lie, then tell the lie close to the truth. Because when you tell it close to the truth, then it becomes that much more believable. So that's what I try and do, that I'm spinning a yarn. I know that I'm telling you a fictional story, but it is based on a bedrock of research. And that research can be 80% right, 90% right. I don't claim to be 100% right. That would be foolish. But then the flip side of that also is that, it is the question that happens between this word which I hate, mythology, because people use it for me, and the word history. And they say, no, myth is fantasy. Myth is something which is just imagination. And on the other hand, history is a factual narrative. But you know what? One of my favorite definitions of history is George Santayana, who said history is a pack of lies about events that never happened, written by people who were never there. So
maybe he read Romola Thakur.
Possibly, but the reality is that, and when you look at the corollary to that, it was C.S. Lewis who said that a myth is a lie that reveals a truth. So in that sense, sometimes a myth is actually more honest, is much more honest than what the so-called historians are telling you. So for me, even though I'm writing fiction, and I know that I'm writing it with the aim of entertaining you, I also know that my aim is to convey a deeper truth to you through that fiction. So in that sense, I feel I'm being more honest than the average historian.
You're definitely more honest than Audrey Pushkin or historians like her. But you lead a very interesting life. You breakfast with Chanakya, you have lunch with Sri Krishna, you have dinner with Mazda. So in all this, and all the books that you have written, which did you find most challenging to write?
I would say probably, if I see, the first book was the Rosabal line.
Yeah.
And the Rosabal line was a book which I found very challenging because it was the very first book I was writing. I had never written anything longer than a couple of pages before writing the Rosabal line. So it was challenging in that context. The next book was Chanakya's Chant. In Chanakya's Chant, I just had a party while writing it. I mean, honestly speaking, there are some books where you just have so much fun writing them that you know that your reader is going to have fun reading them. The Krishna Key, again, much more research, but not exceptionally challenging as it were. I would say after that, Sialkot Saga, again, 70 years post-independence India, easy. Keepers of the Kal Chakra, tough. Vault of Vishnu, tough, because the whole China story, I mean, honestly, writing a book which is based in your dharti is much easier than having to pick yourself up and go there and then try and figure out as to what those connections are. So even traveling in China became a real pain for me because I had to take a couple of trips into China. I'm a vegetarian. You can imagine the places I was going to. So it became a real issue. Then after the Vault of Vishnu, there was the Magicians of Mazda, which was a bit of a challenge, but not so much. I would say the toughest has been the Ayodhya Alliance.
Okay.
Because that entire space, I mean, how many of you know that there is a story which goes back to 42 AD, that's 2000 years ago, of a princess from Ayodhya who travels to Korea. And in Korea, I met the Korean ambassador a couple of weeks ago and I told him that this is what the book is about. And he said that, do you realize that almost one half of Koreans trace their lineage back to this royal couple? So in other words, they have Indian ancestry.
Yes.
And they have a great deal of respect for this couple because they trace their descendants through this line. So it is a very common story as far as the Korean part of it is concerned, but in India we've lost track of it.
Nobody knew about it,
The same thing I found even with the Bodhidharma story for Vault of Vishnu. That, I mean, you go to Shaolin and in the middle of Shaolin you have this massive statue of Bodhidharma looking absolutely almost lunatic-like with long hair and fierce face. It's celebrated that the fact that this man came from India and he taught meditation and he taught yogic breathing and he taught martial arts. And in India, when you say Bodhidharma, Bodhidharma meaning you're talking about Buddhist religion or what are you talking about? People don't understand that we are talking about a person who went. You ask people about the Bodhisena story, people are not aware. So the connectivity between India and the rest of the world, the rest of the world has nurtured those stories, whereas we have forgotten them. This is my problem even with the world of non-fiction, because I genuinely believe that today we have forgotten the Arthashastra. We are not teaching kids the Arthashastra. We are not giving it the importance that it should have, whereas the Chinese are. So they are not only learning Sun Tzu, they are also learning the Arthashastra. That's the point. I think somewhere along the way we need to find a way to bring all of this into greater public discourse. And that's one of the things that I'm trying to do, because I'm repackaging a lot of this material and presenting it in a format that this generation can understand.
You talked about non-fiction, so let's delve a little bit about your 13-step books. 113.
You want the short version, long version?
We have time.
So, the I had just published the Rosabal line.
Okay.
And after I published, not even published, I had finished writing the Rosabal line. I started writing it sometime around 2004, 2003, 4. I had finished it by 2005. And then from 2005 to 2007, I was trying to find a publisher. And the average reply was thank you, but no thank you.
Okay.
And the reason for that was because publishers in our country were not familiar with this genre at all. They could not understand it. They said, look, if you are an Indian author, then either you should be writing a how-to book, like how to make a great biryani, or you should be writing a campus romance, which talks about your breakup. But these sort of stories, which are dense, very dense, packed with history and packed with philosophy or spirituality or having a different angle, they could not understand it. So almost about 25-30 months had gone by and I couldn't find a publisher. So I was feeling rather down, and there was this friend of my father's, I shall not reveal his name, Punjabi gentleman, and he used to come very often and spend evenings with my dad, and they used to show a lot of love and affection to one another through the Johnny Walker Black Label. So, it's like, I won't pour for myself, but I'll pour for you. Now, if I pour for you, then you'll also pour for me. It's almost like that. So they used to pour themselves generous drinks, and they used to, there's a joke, that if you have one finger, then it is a small peg, and if you have two fingers, it's a large peg, and if it's 3 fingers, it's a patiala peg, and if it's 4 fingers, then it's pagal hai kya, right? So, and of course, in their case, it was 4 fingers of whiskey, but not held like this, but held like this. So they would be doing this. So one day, this gentleman, he saw me and he said, "Beta, kya ho gaya? Why are you looking so down?" And I said, for 24 months, 30 months, I've been trying to find a publisher, and I can't get published. And he said, he picked up his drink, he tossed it back effortlessly, and he said, "Beta, remember one thing, in life, 99% is about luck." I was really irritated to hear that. I said, "But what about that 1%? That must be hard work, it must be networking, it must be resources, it could be talent. There are so many things." So whatever was remaining in his glass, he knocked it back. He says, 99% is good luck.
Okay.
1% is bloody good luck. 99% good luck, 1% bloody good luck. So 1% bloody good luck, you cannot time it. So you keep working, you keep doing your best, but that timing of that 1%, when it has to kick in, you can't figure out. That will happen when it has to happen. So that day itself had made up my mind that one day that I'm going to now keep at it. So I had a board in front of me in which it was written, J.K. Rowling 12, and Stephen King 30, and Gone with the Wind 38, and Chicken Soup for the Soul 33.
Number of editions.
Number of rejections.
Oh, okay. Okay.
How many times they had been rejected. And of course, by the time I closed, it was about close to, I think, 43.
Okay.
But between agents and publishers, over 3 years this went on. So I said, I have to be better than them, because after all, I'm getting so many more rejections. I kept going. Then, many years later, after I had become famous, I was in Chennai for a Lit Fest, and I narrated this story. So a young lady, she was not convinced. She came outside, and my publisher was standing next to me, Gautam. So she says, But Mr. Sanghi, if 99% is good luck and 1% is bloody good luck, then I may as well sit in my room all day, watch TV, because everything will just happen from that 99 plus 1. So my publisher started laughing. He said, now she's put up a challenge. Now you need to explain yourself, what is that 1% bloody good luck?
Okay.
So I started writing like a novella.
Okay.
That something which can be read like in one afternoon. That what is bloody good luck? And then when we were trying to figure out, it just so happened, I said that everyone has a problem with the number 13. It is counterintuitive. It is counterintuitive. You somehow or the other think of it as, Friday the 13th, or the fact that the ancient code of Hammurabi, the 13th one was the death sentence. So there is a lot of negativity associated with 13. So I said, what could be better than to say that there are 13 steps for bloody good luck?
Okay.
That's how it was born.
Okay. Quite a story that is. You got me so engrossed, I forgot what was my next question. Next question, and I've always wondered this. In every chapter of your thrillers, you sort of keep the readers hanging. Those cliffhangers are, you're kind of, it's become like your signature step. Ashwin Sanghi, you expect a cliffhanger. So, do you have those cliffhangers in mind before you start to write, or do they just come to you as you start writing?
So it depends. Some things, see, first of all, remember one thing, that the material that I'm covering is in itself a cliffhanger. I remember in 2014, Dan Brown had come to visit Bombay. So his publisher, Penguin, got in touch with me and said that, Ashwin, you are called the Indian Dan Brown. So we are having an event at the NCPA. So will you please be in conversation with Dan?
Okay.
So we did that in the evening. Then after the event was over, he said, what are you doing now for dinner? I said, no, I'm free. So we crossed the NCPA, we went to the Oberoi.
Okay.
And then we sat at that restaurant till 2:30 in the morning. And after several hours, he popped a question. He said, what do you think is God? Now this is a question coming up at about 1:30 or 2 in the morning. After several rounds of lubrication. So I had a napkin in front of me. And I wrote on that, G is equal to infinity minus K.
Okay.
I said, here's your definition of God. So he said, what does this mean? So I said, see, G is equal to what we consider to be divine, divinity. And infinity is the whole wide universe. Everything that is known, everything that will be known, everything that was known, everything that has existed, everything that will exist. It is the egg-shaped universe, Brahmand. Brahm, Anda. Brahmand. And I said K is the extent of human knowledge.
Okay.
So infinity minus K is divinity. So he said, now explain this to me. I said, see, the Egyptians saw the sun rise in the east and set in the west. They didn't know what it was. They said, this is Ra, the sun god. He gets up in the morning and he flies across the sky in his chariot. And when it's night, then he goes to sleep, so it becomes dark. And then later on, whether it was Aryabhatta, whether it was Copernicus or Galileo, they all explained to us what the sun was and the reason for day and night. And so suddenly the poor Ra was no longer divine because we could now understand it, right? So in that sense, divinity is that part that we don't understand.
Yet.
But I said in mathematics, the little that I know is that when you have an equation with infinity anywhere, it is an indeterminate equation. So in that sense, that's what God is, indeterminate, because on one side you have infinity. And he said, I agree with you, because in my next book, I'm also talking about the Lord of the Gaps. In other words, the gaps of human understanding.
Okay.
So for me, the thrill in these books comes from those gaps. That what is it that I can tell you which makes you wonder, what if? I know he's a liar, but what if on this occasion he's telling me something that is more than what meets the eye. So that is one part of it. So getting that material together is the first part. The second part is the structure. And I wrote 2 thrillers with James Patterson. And he had a very simple formula. Put a dead body in the first chapter. So, I mean, in the first draft I wrote of that book was, sorry, should I shut up?
No. We have time. We started late. We have some time.
No, whenever.
No, we have some time. We started late.
So, he said, I think that manuscript of mine had the murder happening in chapter 10 or 12. He said, no, I need this in chapter 1. So, the first chapter has to be like a Bombay pothole.
Okay.
You fall in and you're stuck and you can't get out. So the rest of the book follows quickly. You keep the chapters short so that before a person has a chance to absorb what is going on, the chapter has already changed.
Yeah.
And make sure that every chapter ends on a hook. So there are writers who say we get up in the morning and we look at a blank piece of paper and we figure out as to where the mood is going to take me. That sounds romantic. That's not the way I operate. Typically for me, 6 months goes away in the research. Sometimes it can go 9 months. Then 2 to 3 months to actually develop the outline.
Okay.
And the outline, for every chapter, I already know how that chapter is going to end.
Okay.
And I know exactly what will be the 2 lines that I will end that chapter with, so that you will have no alternative but to go to the next chapter.
Okay. That's interesting.
Right? And finally, after I'm done with the outline, that's when I start writing. And when I'm writing, that's the easiest what I'm doing, because it's like a child with a coloring book. He already has the outlines. Now you use a red crayon or a green crayon or a blue crayon
to fill in the
space. And then, of course, the most taxing part is the rewrites. I've always maintained that I'm a pathetic writer, but I'm a good rewriter. So I rewrite a lot. So I'll go back to the chapter, I'll polish it, I'll again sort of figure out, no, maybe this chapter needs to move here, or this can be shortened, or this is dragging. So by the time it reaches my editor, it will have gone through multiple rewrites. And that is eventually I can't remember who it was who said that easy reading is damn hard writing.
That is true. That is very, very
damn hard writing. So I don't think we are given enough credit for the fact that we make mass consumption. So we will never be given that sort of sense of respect or regard as the literary greats of the world. But frankly, what you do, I like to compare it that there is one artist like an M.F. Hussain who has a blank canvas and he decides broad brush strokes. Or on the other hand, there is someone like me who's a carpenter making a chair. But by the time I make my 100th chair, probably that 100th chair will be better than the first. Because it's a craft, not an art. For me, it's a craft.
That's a very, very, very pertinent point that you made. It brings me, it's a continuation of the previous sentence. Okay, you said that you know the outline, you know how your storyline is going to progressing. But has it ever happened that when you're writing, the characters or the theme takes its own life, and whatever you had in mind, you feel that no, this is not it. I want to, or the character takes you in a different way.
It happens sometimes, which results in a little bit of tweaking as you're going along. It's not necessary that you're going to follow 100% of the outline, but I would say that I pretty much know the origin, I know the destination, and I know the main inflection points of the story. Take for example a book like hypothetically, let's say Sialkot Saga. That is 70 years of the lifetime of two individuals starting from 1947. Now if you see the outline of that book, one day I will share it in a writer's workshop. That entire outline is on Excel.
Okay.
And every year is plotted out on one column, 1947, 48, 49, 50, going all the way 70 years down. And in each year, the two characters, what are their ages? Those have been plotted. What would they have been doing in those ages? That has been plotted. What was happening in India at that time? What was the social, cultural, political, historical backdrop? That has been plotted.
Okay.
And what happens in that chapter, and how does that chapter end? All of it is there in one single row.
Okay.
And that outline runs to about 15,000 words.
Okay. Just the outline?
Just the outline. So that is something where I genuinely feel that if you've done that level of work, then the writing becomes effortless.
Okay.
But I know that a lot of people shy away from that because they say he makes it so boring. The whole process, he makes it sound like as if he's doing it, as if it's operations research, manufacturing process. But the reality is that I need to keep a track of what is going on with the story. The only way I can write it is with a detailed outline.
That's fascinating, actually. If there were last question before I go to there's a rapid fire round also for you, especially for you.
I hate rapid fire.
So,
there is nothing rapid in my life. I move slowly.
So what if there were no publishers, no readers, you were writing only for yourself? What is that one story you would like to tell?
I don't know. I think for me, as I said again, I think somewhere that one story is lurking within me where I want to be able to talk about the fact that when I look around me at the rest of the world, it amazes me that you had a great Roman civilization which had the Mithraic cults of Rome, and today no one talks about the Mithraic cults anymore. Christianity took over. Who remembers Zeus and Apollo and Hercules in the Greek civilization? Gone. The Zoroastrians saw their entire culture demolished.
Yes.
The Aborigines of Australia, their culture is gone. The Inca Maya civilization is gone. So, what is it that has kept us here? We are a pre-Bronze Age civilization. And it's not as if the attacks on us were less. The attacks on us were probably more vicious.
Yes.
So in that sense, there must have been something. Either it was, I would like to attribute it to our own resilience, that we were fighters. But this is something which doesn't come across in our historical narratives.
Our previous section
we
actually talked about that.
We are a bunch of losers. In our historical narratives, we are a bunch of losers. If you see the history of India, it's a history of losses. Losses to the British.
That's what has been told to us.
That's exactly where I'm coming from. So I think before I die, I want to write that one book. That one book, whether it is in the space of fiction or non-fiction, I don't know. But I want to write that one book where I feel that that is a legacy where I'm setting the record straight.
I hope, Insha Ganesha, that this book comes out soon. So now we'll go to rapid fire and I'll open the floor for questions, but it's going to be a very short question and answer round. Rapid fire, a line from our scriptures that guides you personally.
Adi Shakti Namo Namaha.
Okay.
That was the line which I used in Chanakya's chant. And for me, always, people say that why is this, sorry, I know this is rapid fire, but I have to explain it. Why is it that every character in your book is a woman? And genuinely, I feel that in my life, it is Ma that has been guiding me. When I look back at the pages I've written, the next morning when I read the stuff that I wrote the previous day, I can't believe I wrote it. So at that point of time, I know that it is something else that is happening. And with every milestone in my life, I make an effort to bow down to Ma Saraswati and say, कि माँ तुमने बहुत दिया है and तुम्ही ने लिखा है, and I just hope that you will keep me grounded and not ever believe that I wrote it.
That's a beautiful thought. One word that defines India for you. Just one word.
Resilient.
Amazing. If you could spend an evening with any historical figure that you've written about, who and why?
Oh, Chanakya, no doubt.
Why?
The two figures that I hate, figures that are black or white, but shades of grey. Oh, that's exciting. That's mysterious. You talk about this person who 324 BC, and this is a man who explains as to what the duties of a king are, but in the same breath describes in the Arthashastra the technology for creating a Vishkanya to assassinate his political rivals. That's fascinating. I think what should be the depth of a king's treasury so that robbers cannot loot it? Who should construct that treasury in the depth of the jungle and then have them wiped out so that they cannot tell anyone else? What should be the angle of a chariot road so that the water drains? What should be the width of that road so that one chariot can overtake another chariot? I mean, honestly speaking, it was an ancient McKinsey manual. Better than a McKinsey manual. McKinsey manuals are recycled. This was an ancient treatise which was way ahead of its times. And I think genuinely, if there is one thing that we can do, is bring him back into public discourse, because
Absolutely.
I'm not saying you can transplant everything that Kautilya said into today's context. There's a lot of stuff that you will not agree with. But at the same time, at a broad level of governance, that which is good for the country is good for the king. What an outstanding thought process. I wish we could have more of that.
Amazing. I will open the floor now to questions. Just 2 questions, please. One from this side, one from this side. Just 2 questions. Yes.
So, by the way, the latest book in the Bharat series was the Ayodhya Alliance. So I don't know if you picked it up.
Yes.
If you haven't now my Banya instincts I'm marketing to you. So please do pick it up.
Just ask the question, please, and make it really quick.
Just really. So the question is just really, your first book did not have an alliterative title and you have an alliterative title since then. So it's one need to have about your title. So do you have a plan to bring out 26 titles in different letters or how? And do you have regrets in not naming it in alliteration?
Hello. They've turned off my mic.
You can take this.
They want me to get off the stage quickly now. So, the Rosabal line, honestly, at the time I wrote it, I didn't realize it was ever going to become a series. So, the Rosabal line was written as a standalone book. Chanakya's chant was also written as a standalone book. It was never thought that this is going to become a collection. But then, when these two books did brilliantly, that's the time when I got down to writing the Krishna key, and my publisher turned around and said, Ashwin, this Chanakya chant is sounding good. So let's follow this formula on the titles. Krishna key, Sialkot Saga,
Magicians of Mazda.
Vault of Vishnu, Magicians of Mazda, Keepers of the Kal Chakra. So let's follow that pattern and let's make it brand it as the Bharat collection, because all your stories deal with different facets of Bharat. So that's how. So that's why that first one stands out.
One from this side.
All the books of Dan Brown, which is the best? Say you found it and why?
Da Vinci Code, I think.
I must tell you, the Da Vinci Code undoubtedly a lot of people will say, but I believe that his writing was at its peak with angels and demons. And Digital Fortress was at a different level altogether, which unfortunately I believe it's underappreciated. But I would say probably Angels and Demons, he was at the top of his game with that book.
Hello? 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 Thank you very much. And sorry, Beta, you can meet him afterwards. Or can I take one more question from the Chinmaya student? Bacha hai. Come on, ask.
Namaste sir, it's an honor to sit here and listen to the discussion. And I read and admire a lot of books similar to these. And as a student from a culturally rooted school, my question is this fictional literary close to the truth, misleading the youth who don't know much about it? Can you please throw some light on it?
You know, the way I see it is that all of our narratives, this is a country of stories, this is a land of stories. So if you take, let's say, an epic like the Ramayana, right now we had the beautiful session before where we saw the animated work and AI work that was being done. But isn't it surprising that one epic like the Ramayana could be written in 300 different ways? That you not only had the Valmiki Ramayana or the Tulsi Ramayana, but you also had the Kamba Ramayana. You could also have the Adbhut Ramayana. You could also have the Mapila Ramayana. I mean, the Mapila Ramayana, Ram is a sultan, and it's written by the Malabar Muslims. Or for example, you have the Jatak Ramayana, which is the Buddhist version where Ram is a Bodhisattva. So there are 300 versions of the Ramayana, and which are different versions going all the way up to Malaysia, Indonesia, etc. Now the one way of thinking about this would be that, listen, at the end of the day, everyone was putting their own spin on the story. They were adapting that story to the sensibilities of the audience that they were catering to. But the question you need to ask yourself is that would that story have been told 300 times if there wasn't some truth, that some great event happened, that some great king called Ram was there. And on that basis, people found 300 ways of being able to narrate it. Why did you have something which had 50,000 verses called the Jaya become, I think Jaya was 25,000, then Vijaya.
The Jaya was 8,000,
then Vijaya, then Bharat, then Mahabharat. What was the increase in the number of verses every time? Almost doubling. Do you think that again generations would have spent evolving that story in case something real was not there? For me, my wake-up call happened many years ago. I was in Kolkata and I went to a temple. Once I entered the temple, I realized when I looked closely that that temple had a green-colored throne, and on that throne, people were worshipping a portrait of Amitabh Bachchan. It was the Amitabh temple created by his fans. I came outside. I was waiting for my car, and I thought to myself, that little boy came with to sell things. I bought one little book from him. It is in my library. It's called the Amitabh Chalisa.
In Tamil Nadu you will find more.
But the point is, I was asking myself, I said, supposing Ashwin right now your car comes, he knocks you down, you die on the spot. And as per our reincarnation theory, karmic theory, you take birth 1,000 years later. And by then the habit of worshipping Amitabh is not limited to one temple but has now spread to 1 lakh temples. So it has become very ordinary. And someone asks you, do you think Amitabh could be real? Do you think he was a historical figure? But that's the question you just asked me about Ram and Krishna. There is always a kernel of truth which results in the layers of masala that are applied to these stories. So I'm not saying that you need to take these stories literally, but I don't believe that these stories would have been told the way they have been over multiple geographies, over multiple generations, over multiple versions, if there wasn't some kernel of truth.
Thank you so much for an amazing discussion. I really enjoyed hosting this.
Thank you.
We request Sri Rajagopalji to please felicitate Ashwinji.
It's really good. I really had fun.
You know which buttons to press.
As we proceed into a short break, couple of announcements. We will be having very important, very eye-catching.
Can you announce that I've signed about a couple of hundred books outside?
We will be having a cultural performance presented by
Just meet
Guru
the girl.
Srimati
Can I tell her?
Murula Ranji and the disciples.
Excuse me. Can you just inform the audience? Thank you.
Thank you.